Well, welcome into Deets Teach, our favorite segment where we teach you not just, making picks each week, telling you which teams we like and which team has advantages. We teach you how to be a better gambler. There's a lot of different mistakes that new gamblers make all the time, and maybe you're learning from our experiences as they happen. I don't know. Want to bring you in here with Kyle Poland. If you're watching on our Instagram or our YouTube videos, we are vaccinated. That's why we are mask-free here. We do believe in COVID. We do believe in science, so I don't want you to get the wrong idea. We've been shotted up. We're protected. Thank you for being first responders. We want to get into Parlay Probability here this week, teach you why Vegas just rakes it in on parlays, why 1 times 1 times 1 does not necessarily equal 3. Let's get into it, Kyle. Do you love parlays or what?
I absolutely love parlays, much to my detriment as a gambler, but man, are they fun. I will tell you that every week this year in the NFL, I have parlayed all 16 games together, and you get something like plus 6,000 odds, and you can put $1 down and be like, 1 week I could win $6,000. And I have never won that $6,000, but it does not stop me the next week at all.
Not yet. I love looking down there. I'll put in my 4 favorite teams. I'll rationalize. There's no way any of these teams are losing. I put down $5, and usually they lose. So we're going to explain to you why that happens, maybe the psychology behind it a little bit, and we're going to break it in with last week's example where we talked about heavy favorites on the money line. So minus 400 teams, if you remember, we broke it down. If you bet a minus 400 team 5 times, you have to get it right 4 out of 5 times just to break even. Now, one of my favorite things to do as a gambler is take 2 minus 400 teams, maybe a minus 400, minus 300 team on the money line, like Packers versus the Bears and Saints versus the Panthers, and I hammer that on a parlay. Feels like it's never going to lose. Well, if you take 2 teams at minus 400 each, you're probably getting minus 200 odds. Because what a lot of gamblers don't know, especially new gamblers, you're not getting a bonus for doing a parlay. It's really just making the same 2 bets back to back. So if you put $100 on the Packers and you're going to win back 150, then you put 150 on the next team. That's what's happening. You're not getting a bonus for doing all the games at once. Just know that going into it. So if you have minus 200, you actually have to win 2 out of 3 times and have a 66% win rate in order to do that. If you want to jump to the next slide, that's almost impossible to do. The best handicappers in Vegas, there was a competition in 2020, the Vegas Westgate Superbook NFL. One person hit 70%. That was their winner, the best handicapper in the world. 75% of these thousands of people, the best in the world to play because they paid to get in the tournament, were under 62%. So if you're telling me you're an average Joe trying to throw down just 2 teams on a parlay, most people do 3 or 4 just for fun, you're not going to win it very often. Jump over to the next one there, Kyle. So, something to be aware of for that. Try pushing the other button. All right. Go up there. Technical difficulties here. Perfect here. So breaking down basic statistics. Let's multiply that one out over some larger plays. We're just doing a spread play here. We get Packers minus 3. We get Kansas City minus 3. We get the Nuggets minus 3. And you're hitting 60%. You're having an amazing year. You're nailing them. 60% times 60% times 60%. For all 3 of those bets to hit, probability-wise, it happens 20% of the time. Now, let's say you're an average Joe like myself. You're betting 55%. Still pretty good overall, right? You're picking more often wins than losses. That's actually my win total right now. I'm about 55%. If I do a 14 parlay, it's only going to hit 9% of the time. I know it seems awesome. You're going to get the Packers at minus 400. No way it loses. It loses 90% of the time. Don't do it. It's a waste of your money. I'm not saying never parlay, but just go into it knowing, oh, I shouldn't put $100 on this. Maybe I put 10 because it's 5% of my bankroll. And if it hits 1 out of 10 times, that's a lot of fun, and I'm going to make some money off of it. Let's jump down to the next one. This is why Vegas loves you betting parlays. This is just one casino in 2018. This is the win percentages and how much they took back off of each different sport. So this casino, let's call it Casino X. They won about 5% on these football games. Not like they won only 5% of the picks, but they made 5% profit off of all bets placed on football games. Basketball, about 5%. Baseball, about 4%. If you're good at baseball, make some bets. Parlay cards, they get 32% profit on those. That means as a gambler, we are getting wrecked on parlays. Move on down here. So, when do you do parlays? When there's two games going on concurrently and you don't want to bet them separately, it makes sense to do it. Put $10 on the Packers and put $10 on the Bears who are playing the same time. You can bet both games without having to place $10 on each. If you have a really small bankroll, this makes sense to do. Some rules that I have for parlays: never do more than 5% of your bankroll. It makes sense because if you're only hitting at 20%, remember that's if you're hitting 65 on normal spread bets. You're going to need at least 5 or 6 times to break even on those parlay bets. So don't do a huge percent of your bankroll. They're definitely a ton of fun. I love parlays personally. I'm just like Kyle. I like putting down $10. I like putting down $20 to see myself, I can make $200 in one play. Never works. Kyle, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think that we want to be very clear that we are not the fun police here. It is your money, and if you want to lose it, you go right ahead and do that. And if it's fun for you and you have a more giving wife than we do, and she lets you reload every week, then by all means, have a great time. But if you're trying to make money, these aren't the way to do it. So, make sure it's small. And then I think the other thing that Deet said, it feels more mentally, it feels like a better trick to say, hey, instead of minus 400, I have these 4 teams and I got 4 heavy favorites. Now I got them plus 100.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, unless those games are being played at the same time, if you just roll over your winnings, it's the exact same thing. And then if you have hit on 3 out of 4, you can, maybe there's a late scratch for a team or something, and you're not screwed where you're like, oh, my bet's already in. You just say, oh, I stop at 3. I've made my money. And that's where we are.
Right.
So definitely keep that in mind, where sometimes I think, myself included still, I love seeing the plus odds, right? And I'm like, wow, I'm getting plus odds now on these 4 things that are for sure going to happen. Well, you can do the exact same thing separately as long as they're not taking place at the same time. So some events that are fun for parlays, I would really highlight March Madness. There's so many games going on at once that there's no way that you can individually bet them sometimes, so it's fun to parlay there. And then NBA playoffs opening day for baseball is another one where a lot of times there's a lot of things going on at once. Or some of the divisional rounds of playoffs for baseball. Sometimes there's concurrent games, but baseball has done a pretty good job of making them back-to-back. So, yeah, I think you covered it all, and I just want to highlight that if you are having fun, it is okay to place a parlay once in a while. Don't beat yourself up.
Yeah.
Have a little fun out there.
Yeah, nothing wrong with playing for parlays. No reason to do sports gambling just for fun. You can do that anytime. You won't get judgment from us. We're just teaching you if you want to make that bankroll last. This is what you need to know. The only other thing I'll add is whenever you're doing a parlay, don't put your whole bankroll on it. Leave some money to hedge. It's always the worst when you have a new gambler say, well, I put my last $25 on these 4 teams, and it's down to the last game, and then they lose it. If you have at least half your bankroll, you can put it on the other team at an advantageous moment. You can come out ahead. Really save yourself a lot of stress. That's Deets Teach, where we teach you how to be a better gambler and not just give our picks, right? Remember, we're the only podcast out there that gives these professional little tidbits to beat Vegas out there. Thank you for joining us.
Nice.